What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the NYJF pod, here with Fireman Ed, Rob Carpenter, Jake Coppell, and special guest Jake Asman joining us to talk some Jets. Fellas, how we doing tonight?
Everything's good.
All
I'm
good,
pumped to be
Kev.
joined by
All
Jake.
good.
I'm fired up to get some Jets combos going with our boy from Houston.
Any chance we're going to get some breaking Dalvin Cook news tonight? My first question for you.
Jake, I'll let you take that. What do you think about Dalvin Cook?
Man, it sounds like the Jets want him, but they want him at the right price, right? I mean, Joe Douglas is not going to overpay. That's been his MO since he's been the GM. I mean, really, other than the Rodgers trade, which I guess you could say was a slight overpay, but I still think you traded a first-round pick next year, most likely. We all thought that'd probably be in the deal in one of the twos after the Moore trade, so I don't even really consider that a true overpay. So he's shown you since he's been the GM, he has his price. And I think Dalvin Cook wants to be a Jet, but it has to be at a price he's comfortable with, and the Jets aren't going to overpay. But the more this drags on, the vibe I get, and you guys tell me if you feel the same way, I think they get it done. I think Dalvin Cook's going to end up being a Jet when push comes to shove. I really believe that.
Yeah,
I don't think anybody else besides Miami is in the running, correct? And if he was actually going to hit Miami, because I think Miami already put the bid out there, if he was going to do that, and that's his home, I think he would have been there already. So I think he actually is holding out for a better Jets offer, or something that he can actually feel comfortable with, as far as I know Joe D is probably going to hit him with a bunch of incentives in that deal, something that he feels like he's comfortable with, that he can reach during the season as far as incentive money goes.
Yeah, look, Ed, I know Ed's pumped.
Ed's muted.
Oh, sorry. Ed unmuted here. Oh, your mic isn't connected. That's what's going on. We'll give Ed a chance. I think your mic got unplugged. But
I'll just say real quick, if Dalvin Cook values money,
that's better. He's better.
Values money. I think
we're good.
Dolphins, but Ed, go ahead, man.
You know what? Listen, the only way he goes to Miami is he wants the money and the no taxes, okay? Because it's a no-brainer for him to go and play with Aaron Rodgers. Why would he play with Tua when he could play with Rodgers, when Rodgers destroyed him most of the years that they played together? And, Rodgers loves him. Like Rob said last week, I mean, listen, Rodgers loves Dalvin and Dalvin loves Rodgers. So, I mean, it just makes perfect sense. I'll be surprised if he does it. He's not a Jet, so we'll see.
I mean, look, we could certainly use him, right? I mean, the way I feel about it is exactly what like CJ Uzama said, right? He was like, if anybody wants to come get this ring, let's get it, And my thought is like, we don't want to rush Breece back. I mean, you know what happens when you try to rush guys back? You get re-injuries and bullshit. We got a rookie in the room who knows what's going on with Izzy. We got Michael Carter and he wasn't so great last year, despite the fact that I have every Michael Carter card ever fucking printed. I'd love for him to be the man, but it remains to be seen with that. We're in a little bit of a tight spot. As far as like, if you're trying to be a Super Bowl contender, which is what we're trying to be, get as many good players. Dalvin Cook is a really good player. I mean, the fact is he's a 4-time Pro Bowler. Guy can run the ball. And, if he's available and he wants to come here, and we're just talking about money. We have money. We have, I think we're like a top 3 team as far as available cap space. I mean, what are we holding on to it for? I know we want to extend Quinn, and we got to get that done. That still hasn't gotten done yet.
And a Rodgers restructure. That'll get done too.
Right. But I mean, listen, like I said, there's people like I just see these people on Facebook, and I see them on Twitter, and now, Threads. Everybody go join Threads. I'm on there already, man. Things are getting popping on Threads already. But
we're there already.
You see people and they're like, nah, we don't need Dalvin Cook. And I'm like, what kind of shit are you talking right here? Like, what do you mean we don't need Dalvin Cook? We don't necessarily need him. Like, we're not gonna cancel the season if we don't get him. But like, I mean, come on, you got a chance to get a guy like that, especially if it's between you and the Dolphins, your division rival. Like, you don't want Dalvin Cook on the Dolphins. So
I think more than anything is also the insurance it gives you, like you said, for Breece Hall. You want him there for the end of the season, not the beginning of the season. So if you could ease him back, 10 carries a game, whatever it is, the first few weeks, what better guy to do that than Cook?
Fully agree.
I mean, he split time in Minnesota, man. Just think about it. Dalvin Cook split time in Minnesota with the young kid that's there now, and he was still rushing for over 1,000 yards. So, you can't go wrong with that dude, man. And I mean, yeah, he had shoulder surgery, but for the most part, once he's in a groove and he gets into if they sign him and he gets into training camp, he's a pro, man. He knows how to handle himself.
It's reminiscent of 2010 with LaDainian Tomlinson, even though Dalvin Cook's actually 3 years younger than LT was when they brought him in 2010, right. and he was awesome in 2010 for that Jets team. So more talent, the better. Plus, Dalvin Cook on the Jets are the only team where he could be the number one running back, you'd think, at the beginning of the year, because I think they're going to ease Breece Hall back. They're not going to rush him. They'll give him some carries, but you're not going to give him the ball 25 times a game at the beginning of the year. So he could get his stats early, and then he'll be fresher late in the year because Breece Hall is going to be there to help him out. So to me, it's a no-brainer, and I think if the money's right, they want him. I think that is kind of the indication you get from everything you see and kind of connect the dots.
Yeah, do you think when LaDainian came here, didn't he get a Jets tattoo on his leg or something like that? I feel like if Dalvin Cook comes here and gets a Jets tattoo on him, it's gonna get me fired up. I want to see that. That'd be sick.
Jake, I got a question for you. Tyson put out a video earlier today, just talking about the excitement level surrounding the season. When was the last time, as a fan, you were this legitimately excited going into a year? I mean, you talking 2010 or 99 with Vinny when he went down? I mean, when was the last time you were this legitimately excited?
For me, it's 2010, and it's not even close, right? I mean, you had the Hard Knocks summer going into it, but take us back to 2010. You're going into year 2 of Rex Ryan and year 2 of Mark Sanchez, where you're going to the championship game in one of the most improbable runs we've seen in the NFL. So then to have the offseason the Jets had, where they trade for Santonio Holmes, they bring in Antonio Cromartie, they sign LaDainian Tomlinson. We're thinking, all right, well, this is a really good team that was on the precipice of the Super Bowl. That's the last time I had this type of excitement. I was pumped in 2011, but I hated what they did in that offseason. It still pains me to this day that they replaced, Jericho Cotchery with, Derek Mason and Plaxico Burress for Braylon Edwards. I'm still pained as a Jet fan 12 years later that happened. So for me, it's 2010, and it kind of feels like 2010 all over again, especially if they're the Hard Knocks team, if that ends up being the case.
I have a Jericho Cotchery jersey in my closet back there, and that trade, when they got rid of Cotchery, I agree with you. I couldn't agree more. I mean, that Derek Mason debacle, he wasn't even here a full year. He get cut, he was complaining.
Didn't Rex say that Mason was going to catch 100 balls his first year or something like that? He put crazy expectations on him his first year, and he did nothing.
Nothing. Zero.
So Jake, what do you brought it up? What do you think about the Jets actually being on Hard Knocks this year? Do you relate it to that 2010 season?
I wouldn't mind it, Rob, if they are. I think the fans are like, it's this huge distraction. Oh my God. It's like, really? I mean, this team is around cameras all the time. They got their in-house One Jets Drive people filming constantly. They're in prime time 6 times. They're in national TV with standalone games like week 2 in Dallas, 4:25 kickoff. The number 1 team on CBS will be at that one. If the Jets don't achieve their goals this year, I could promise you we're not going to be saying, well, if they just didn't do Hard Knocks, they would have won, 3 more games and would have went to the championship game. I don't buy it. So I know they don't want to do it, but it's because it's, another inconvenience for Saleh to have to watch everything every week to make sure nothing's on there he doesn't want. But really, as a fan, sign me up for Hard Knocks. Why not? It'll be fun. And the Jets have final say on what's out there anyway. They're not going to be revealing state secrets. So it's a big distraction. I mean, maybe it's a slight inconvenience for some members of the organization, but I don't think we're going to be like, man, if they just didn't do Hard Knocks, they would have won the Super Bowl. So if they get picked, it is what it is. I'm going to watch every episode, and I can't wait.
You sound like me, because I said that last week. Go ahead, Ed.
Hey, you're muted again. I think we lost your mic. I see you talking, but I can't hear you, Ed. Ed's traveling tonight, just FYI, so everyone's aware. He's actually out in Virginia, so he's not in his home, typical recording setting. Yeah, we still can't hear you, Ed. All right. Well, anyway, yeah, I don't, like I said last week. I mean, the last time the Jets were good, the 2010 season, we had Hard Knocks. We made the AFC Championship game. We were, one Mark Sanchez possession away from making the Super Bowl. If we could just get that damn ball back.
Hey, don't lie. You were fired up for 2016 with all the Fitzmagic stuff going on. You were loving that.
Jake?
Yeah. I mean, that was, it was a fun run, right? But just the bitter taste in my mouth on how it ended. I'm still you win 10 games, but you blow it the last week. And it's It's like yes, fun end to the season until that point. The win over the Patriots is all time with the Decker catch in overtime, but it's still just, man, it's been so long since this team has really been relevant going into a year, right? Because even 2015, it's like, year one of Todd Bowles, year one of Mike McCagnon, Geno gets punched out at the beginning of the year. Like you were still thinking this team is probably an 8-win team at best. So it was fun and they won 10 games, but this is truly the first time since 2010, 2011, where we enter the year and it's not crazy to picture this team winning at all, which is all you could hope for as a fan. You have that chance.
Jake, were you in Houston yet in 2016, or what year do you head over there?
So I moved down here in July of 2018. So it's been about 5 years now, which is nuts. Like it's completely flown by. So the Jets have pretty much been terrible every year I've been down here besides this past year. So I am looking forward to, being able to walk around Houston with Jet stuff on and people not like apologizing for me, it's going to be awesome.
Respect. Are you going to be going to the Dallas game in Dallas?
Yeah, I actually booked my trip today. It's all done. I'm going with the Gotham crew that does the travel plans that I know so many Jet fans have been a part of. So I'll be driving up from Houston and I'll be there for week 2. So I can't wait.
We will all be there. Well, I'm not. Rob, are you going to be going down there?
Yeah, I think I'm going.
Hell yeah! My bachelor party's that weekend in Dallas.
That is
at the Jets game, so you're going to have to come
awesome.
by. We're going to be partying with those guys.
100%. Yeah, so we'll meet in person finally. That'll be fun.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Thoughts on Breece Hall bouncing back this fast? I mean, we kind of touched on this already, but what kind of role do you expect him to have early in the season?
So I think he's going to be very good. I don't know if he's going to be, the guy that was going to win the Offensive Rookie of the Year through those 7 games, but I'm not worried about him coming back and being like a shell of himself. That being said, injuries happen, and I want insurance, which is why, we opened the show talking about why I think we all would want Dalvin Cook at the right price. But look, I think Breece Hall is going to be very good. Like I'm not sitting here going, man, I think he's going to be shot. I think he's going to be a productive player for this team, and he's going to help. And Rodgers will make everyone better because you can't stack the box if Breece Hall, is your running back and Rodgers is your quarterback.
It's going to be interesting. Right in the beginning of the season, see how many carries, how many plays he actually gets, how many plays he's actually on the field. I don't think they're holding him back much in camp. I know he's not going to be out there in any of the preseason games for sure, just like Aaron Rodgers, right, Kev? But
I don't know about that.
Right at the very beginning of the season, it's going to be very interesting. The first couple of weeks, you see how many plays he's actually on the field. Whether he's there just to keep the defense honest, or actually whether they're actually giving him the ball, to make something happen. But I just, for me, for the first few weeks, I just don't think he's going to be on the field a whole lot. Maybe 10, maybe 15 plays max per game for the first couple of weeks. But after that, if he's shown that he's actually, healthy enough to actually be out there and can do everything that they want him to do, then they'll pick up they'll pick it up as far as reps go. But first couple of weeks, it's just going to be, a few reps here and there.
Topic I'd like to get all your thoughts on. I've seen this popping around on Twitter a little bit with, 4th of July. Mount Rushmore of Jets in your lifetime only, though. Guys that you've seen in your lifetime play. Yeah. Who's your Mount Rushmore of Jets?
It's going to be a tough one, I think. I need to think about that one a little bit. And it's just in your lifetime, right? Like, so I can go all the way back to the
area. Okay. What guys you've seen?
Ed, do we have your mic back?
Yeah, I'm back.
Let's go. We got Ed back.
There he is.
What's up, Fireman Ed?
You can't hold me down. You can only hope to contain me. You can only hope to contain me.
They silenced him for a couple of minutes, man. Ed, give us your take on that. Give us your take on that, because I know it'll give me about a couple minutes here to think about what my answer would be.
Well, I can give you mine if you guys want to think, or if you need some time to think.
Well, I mean, the obviously guys are, listen to me. To me, it's Joe Willie. My obviously Joe, but then Joe Klecko is second to me. I mean, he's the next guy. He's number 2 Jet of all time. I would go Curtis Martin in there if he's not 3. You could put Don Maney. You could put Winston Hill in there. These guys are all Hall of Famers, man. I ain't putting Revis in there because he was a Patriot, so that's out. No, he can't. I'm sorry. I mean, listen, Darrelle Revis was a tremendous player, but for me personally, I can't do it. So
I can't wait to see the headline this week, Jake. Jake, notorious troublemaker in the Darrelle Revis land. Fireman Ed says he wouldn't put Darrelle Revis in his.
Well, he went into the champion. You know, he went to a champion. He went to the Patriots, man. You know, come on.
Yeah.
So, you know,
I get it.
I mean, other guys, you know, listen, you go get the money, you do what you got to do, but that doesn't mean the fan base doesn't, you know. I mean, the fan base has a certain thought process. You know, Rob was completely correct last week when he said, hey, the players look totally different, you know, at Darrelle Revis. He was one of the greatest, and that's fine. But as a fan, we don't feel that way with him. He may have been great, and he was for a certain amount of time, but he also hit the road. So, you know.
Martin was a Patriot, but not by choice. Let's remember that.
No.
Yeah, Martin didn't.
We went and got
Patriots.
Curtis. We went and made a poison deal to make sure we got him the poison pill and got him. And Curtis was nothing but a jet. Nothing but a jet. Curtis Martin. We need more Curtis Martins. Are you kidding me? Curtis Martin is legendary. Along with, never mind being a great player, a great human being. Just great, period. End of story. There's nothing to say about Curtis Martin other than kudos. He's definitely on my Mount Rushmore.
Vinny's not on anyone's Mount Rushmore. I don't.
Hey,
Vinny
you know, everybody forgets about Winston Hill. Winston Hill was some player. This is some tackle, man. Let me tell you, he's an all-time great. He's a Hall of Famer. Come on now.
Make an argument.
The guys in the trenches always get forgot about it.
Yeah, I don't forget him.
Mangold, Debrick.
Yeah, I mean Mangold for sure. I was thinking maybe Kevin Hawaii.
Great player. Mangold's a great player, but you probably got 5 other guys that are ahead of him. You know, you're always going to put a Hall of Famer in there because you would look ridiculous if you didn't.
Right.
So.
It's a little weird for me. I would put Revis in there though. Revis, Toon. Probably Brick, and that's a tough one. 4th one's a tough one. But it probably would be Curtis Martin.
Yo, the people out there, like the kids now, like people in their 30s, really Kevin and everybody younger, will never really understand how good Altoon was. You know, before he just took so many hits over the middle, it's just the concussions, but like.
Altoon's stats are better than Jerry Rice's stats his first few years in the league.
That's what I'm saying.
My dad would always tell me that growing up. He would always tell me
and
that.
He didn't have Joe and he didn't have Steve. So that lets you know how good Altoon was, man.
Mm-hmm.
And me seeing him up close and in person, got to really see how good of an athlete that dude was. To be 6'5", to run as fast as he could, to jump as high as he could. Al was a hell of an athlete, man. I learned a lot from him in one year. I learned a hell of a lot from Al in 1 year. That dude and he's a great dude. It's just unfortunate that he did take so many big hits over his career. And one of the non-lethal hits that you would think about, just a regular tackle, actually, is one that ended his career.
Ken O'Brien hung him out to dry quite a bit. It was quite a few times he hung him out there.
Yeah, but there's another guy like that doesn't get the respect I think he deserves in the life, you know, as a Jet. Ken O'Brien was a good quarterback.
He was.
He was no slouch. Like everyone's like, oh, you know, he gets kind of knocked because like, you know, the whole Marino thing and the draft he came from and all that. But Ken O'Brien was a Pro Bowler. Like we drafted Ken O'Brien and he was like he went toe to toe with Dan Marino on those Monday night games and. You know, he was a gunslinger. We put up points with Ken O'Brien. He's another guy that just got his brains beat in. You know,
well, 66. Didn't he have 66 sacks? I think.
Yeah,
he got murdered in 1 year. I think it was like 66 or 65 sacks. He got murdered. He was a record at the time, I think.
There's that highlight of LT sacking him and telling him not to get up. You know, that famous highlight. It's crazy. All right, I think I came up with my 4. I think that like my 4 is pretty much set in stone here. Yeah, I was struggling a little bit with the last one also, but I think for sure there's, you know, Cleco, Curtis Martin. As much as I hate to do it, Ed, I got to do it. And I'll argue with you a little bit. I got to put Revis on there just because of how dominant he was for, you know, at his peak. I mean, that guy, you know, it just I mean, you said Hall of Fame, get special treatment. I mean, he's going into the Hall of Fame as a Jet, I mean,
I get it.
I got to put him on there. And then my fourth one was a struggle because, I wanted to think about, as crazy as it sounds, putting Ken O'Brien on there. And I wanted to think about, because you want to put a quarterback, even Chad. Chad, for his first few, before he, messed up his arm, was unbelievable. Was battling early on with Brady. I mean, we're doing that with with Altoon and Jerry Rice. So we could talk if injuries, robbed us of something. Chad looked like he was going to be our guy for the first few years of his career, and then just shoulder injury after shoulder injury. So, I mean, that is what it is. But I think that my fourth guy on there, I'm going to put Kevin Mawai on there, just specifically because how ridiculously talented he was. And, look, Curtis Martin, remember when he won that final in rushing title, beat out Sean Alexander on the last day, but he was getting towards retirement, won the rushing. That was Kevin Mawai's line, that, he was just opening up crazy holes. And all respect to Curtis Martin, he was running through him, but so I would put him, I think, on there as my number 4 guy, just because you were not, that guy was a rock. And but Brick, gets special mention. So does Mangold. You could plug and play any of those guys.
I love for Corbett at all.
Corbett, no. Corbett was great, but look at Corbett's numbers. I mean, Corbett was a different type of guy, and he was the everyman that he was a local guy, Hofstra, all that stuff. But I mean, realistically, we've had better maybe not a third down receiver, but we've had better receivers here than Wayne Corbett, even though he was beloved, obviously. I mean, look, Garrett Wilson's going to be Garrett Wilson.
That's going to be soon. That's going to be soon. Him and Sauce are both going to be up there soon.
Holy crap, man! We have some guys in this team between those two and Quinnen. I was thinking this is another fun exercise. How many Pro Bowlers do you think the Jets are going to have this year?
17.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, it's crazy. We could have Aaron Rodgers, right? Obviously he's a Pro Bowler. Breece Hall, if all goes well, he was definitely going to be a Pro Bowler last year. If
he's not going to get a heavy enough workload to make it,
he might. We'll see. Okay, Garrett Wilson could definitely be a Pro Bowler, right?
AVT
on the line. Elijah Vera Tucker should, if he bounces back healthy, should be a Pro Bowler. That'd be 4 on the offensive side. I feel free to throw in more if you think. DJ Reed, Sauce, Quinn Williams. That would be 7, right? CJ Mosley. I mean, he still gets voted for Pro Bowls, even though I didn't think he had as great a year last year as everyone seems to think he had. But potentially that could be 8.
Greg Zuerlein.
I think the max of Pro Bowlers for this team will probably be 2 years from now, because then you'll have I'm pretty sure Breece is going to come back. If he comes back fully 100% healthy and he plays a full season, I'm pretty sure Breece is going to be a Pro Bowler. So you'll have the max amount of guys from this team will probably be 2 years from now, because I'm pretty sure Garrett, Breece, Sauce, if DJ's still here, DJ's playing great, man. On the other side,
Rodgers.
Yeah, Aaron. AVT,
He'll be
Quinn. Shoot, just think about it. If Makai can stay healthy for 2 seasons in a row, just think about the things that he can do if he can stay healthy for 2 seasons in a row. So Makai, AVT, it could be possibly 7 or 8 guys on this team 2 years from now, man, being Pro Bowls.
My man Bill Rodgers on the Jets on the freaking Mount Rushmore of Jets. Aaron Rodgers on there hasn't even taken a snap yet. That's how much.
Aaron Rodgers going to be.
If they win the Super Bowl, it's automatic.
Oh yeah.
If
I built a statue for that guy.
We got Aaron Rodgers winning. He's going to be the 3rd year. He's going to be in his 3rd year. We're going for the 3-peat, and he has become legendary. Wish it and it shall happen. Believe it and it can happen. I believe it. I believe it. It can happen. Aaron, I know it.
As salty as Packer fans were when he signed here, all that bullshit they were tweeting out on Twitter and everything. Could you imagine if he won more Super Bowls with the Jets than he won with the Packers? He just comes here and wins 2 in a row. That would be unbelievable.
Packer fans would be sick for the rest of their lives.
Hey, the one he wins with the Jets will mean more than any Super Bowl he would have won in Green Bay. The one he won in Green Bay, right? Like, I'm telling you, one with the Jets is at least 2 anywhere else, maybe 3, given the history of this franchise.
Yeah, that's the Mark Messier right there. I bet you Mark Messier, his favorite championship he won was with the Rangers. I bet you.
And he won 5 with Edmonton. And the only championship they bring up is 94 with the Rangers. Or even LeBron. LeBron won 1 in LA, 2 in Miami. The championship he's known for is the one in Cleveland. So that's what a championship with the Jets would do if he's able to get it done here. And he knows. Like, that's what I love about it. He understands what it would do for his legacy to win here. And he's embraced that, which I think is awesome. If you're a diehard fan, so this guy gets it.
You would see Aaron Rodgers every single day on every network for 3-4 years. Just look at Peyton and Eli right now. Every network, every commercial. I mean, you really think Eli was the greatest quarterback in the world, but he won those championships with the Giants, and he's just everywhere. Aaron Rodgers would be the exact same way. If he wins that one here, he would be on it, man. You see his face on something every day for 2 to 3 years.
Jake, what are your thoughts on some of the hate that, Rodgers and the Jets are getting going into this year? I saw one list today. I think it was from Will Brinson on PFF, had Rodgers in the tier 3 of quarterbacks with Daniel Jones and some other guys in tier 2. Like, what are your thoughts on some of that stuff?
Hey, they don't, teams don't have targets on their backs if they're not good. That's how I kind of look at it, right? Like, Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers because, he's got 4 MVPs and he's got the greatest touchdown to interception ratio of all time. And people want to get their shots in on the Jets while they still can. The Knicks have went through the same thing. LOL Knicks, LOL Jets. It's the same. And now it's like you can't talk that trash anymore now that they're being run the right way. Now that they have Aaron Rodgers and this team's going to be really good. They got the offensive and defensive rookies of the year. They got a top 5 defense in the sport. You're not going to be able to talk your trash for that much longer. And then the goalposts are going to move, gentlemen. Get ready. If the Jets get off to this 5-1 start, it's going to be, their one loss was against the Eagles, so they won't beat them in the Super Bowl. They lost to the Chiefs, so it's not really going to matter. Like, just get ready for the goalposts to be moved throughout the year once the Jets prove they're the type of team that I think we all believe they're capable of being.
The anti-Jets bullshit sells. That's what it comes down to. You get, what's his name? That called Aaron Rodgers the most overrated quarterback ever. Skip Bayless, man. That guy makes a living. It's amazing to me that people still take the bait because that guy makes a living on saying the most ridiculous possible shit, making arguments out of it. And what that does is it brings engagement. It brings the people back and it gets people talking. And they say, no, you're an idiot. You don't know what you're talking about. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's intentionally putting ridiculous takes out there, for the sake of engagement, because that's what he is. He's he's the troll. I mean, that's what he is. He's a professional troll. And that's why, Shannon Sharp left him, or, because what does he want to deal with that? Like, how long can you put up with that, with having that kind of format where you're just manufacturing drama left and right? I mean, come on. Most overrated quarterback. He was the freaking NFL MVP the last, but not this year, but the previous 2 years. How could he possibly be overrated? It's ridiculous. But again, that's what sells. That's what these guys do. And
go ahead, Ed, let it out.
I want them in their minds. I want us in their minds. I want them to think about us. I want them to worry about us. I want them to say we suck. I want them to hate on us. I love it. We've been waiting for this. Let it rain. Let it rain on us. Rain on us, because the Jet chant's just gonna get louder. It's gonna get stronger. It's gonna get deeper. It's gonna overwhelm the NFL. Bring it on. We have been waiting forever. Listen, we are waiting. We were in the desert. We're starving. We're starving. We're thirsty. We're thirsty. We can't wait. Talk about us. Keep talking about us. We want you to talk about us, because when we raise the Lombardi in Vegas, it'll be shouts of joy and J-E-T-S. Jets.
Guys, you know what the best part of that whole thing is? Ed right now is at a hotel in Virginia, and there's got somebody staying right next door to him. Was like, what the fuck is going on? I love it. Ed, you want to talk a little bit about what you're doing out there in Virginia? Actually, it's look, I know you don't want to have too much fanfare around it, but I think it's a really cool thing, and it could help the family out potentially. Just talking about it.
Well, let me tell you a little story. What happened? I got a letter from guy. Who got hurt is John Munch. All right, it's Monge. John Munch. They have a GoFundMe page for John for his medical costs because what happened was he was on a boat and he thought the water was a little deeper than it was, and it wasn't, and he dove in and he cracked his vertebrae. So right now he's fighting to try to get his feeling back, and it's a work in progress. So I came down to see the family. His brother wrote a letter to me, Sam. And a great family. His father, Will, his other brother, Chris, just great people. Great family. Jeff fans. And, his brother Chris is a Giant fan. I'll give him that. But they're all Jeff fans, the rest of them. And, he's battling. And, I really like to help him out. I'd like to get that shout out to the people to, if you can, whatever you can do, $10, whatever. I want to make this wasn't a one-time thing for me. This is something that was real. This is a family that I've met in the past that come up from Norfolk, Virginia. They come up for a game every year, sometimes two. They're diehards like we are, Jake. They're big-time diehards. I mean, I can't tell you enough about this family, how touched I was by this family, and how thankful and that I was able to even meet them because they're that wonderful of family. And John, he's got a great spirit. He's a fighter. He, the excitement we had today from me seeing him was overwhelming. Actually, it's very rewarding. I didn't do it for any fanfare. I did it because I love the family and I want to try to help them any way I can. So I'd like to get the word out there. There'll be more to follow as time goes along, but it's just the beginning. I told them this is just the start. This is, we want to see John walk again and, be able to play with his kids. He has three daughters and a bunch of nephews and nieces and a wonderful, wonderful family down in Norfolk, Virginia. His father was a career Air Force serving his country. And, I get such a thrill out of hearing guys talk, yes, sir, no, sir. And, they're just wonderful, respectful people. And we got to help them out. So I'm going to do whatever I can. I'm going to make it a point to do whatever I can. So I'm going to reach out to the people I can. And I'll talk more to you, Jake. And obviously Rob and Kev and Jay will do what we can. But,
Absolutely.
I want you to have prayers for him. And he's on the road to recovery, man. He's a tough guy. I was very impressed. It was only 12 days ago that injury happened. And I can tell you, I was there again tonight. And, man, he's got some spirit. I mean, it's unbelievable. So let's all pray for him, and maybe if we can help him out and go in our pockets a little bit, it'd be even better.
No doubt. Thoughts and prayers to John and his family. We'll definitely try to get all the information out there for the GoFundMe page.
Yeah, man, that's such an amazing thing you're doing, Ed. It's like back in 2015, when I first started doing all this Jet stuff and, was fortunate enough to meet Ed through that and Rob and Kev and, I got a note like right around Christmas time from, the Wall family. I don't know if you guys remember this, but he was Aiden Wall was the kid's name. He had cancer. He was dying. He was terminal. It was really sad. And the kid was like an absolute beast. Like he was, college. He was weightlifter and everything, and he was diehard Jets fan. And he couldn't eat anything. He was, it was a mess. And like they reached out, I guess, to a bunch of Jet fan accounts, see if anybody could potentially knew any players and could potentially get somebody to come down to the hospital over Christmas break to see him. And I did what I could, right? Like I reached out to a couple players that I had done some stuff with. And funny enough, one of the guys that gets probably no credit for his time here, obviously didn't work out on the field, but I'll never forget it. Calvin Pryor hit me up. He was the only one that had gotten back to me and was like, I want to see this kid. I want to go, I want to go to his hospital. I'm Jewish, so I wasn't doing anything on Christmas. I was like, I'll take a ride out, I'll drive you out there. He's like, all right, cool. So we went out to, to the hospital in the city and we saw him and, just seeing him smile, the kid was dying, and everyone knew it. I mean, they were just hanging with him and, Calvin went there and brought him some gloves and a football and, sat with him privately, he didn't want any pictures on social media. He just wanted to go try to cheer the kid up. And, the kid died, I think he died a few weeks later. It was really sad, but just being there and the family reached out and they were like, that was one of the best moments he's had, especially since he's been in the hospital. And, it was the first time we saw him smile in forever. And, I actually had a little bit of an appetite and stuff like that. And so, anyway, the point of that story is just to say Ed, for you to be able to do that for somebody else and, and go see the kid, obviously he's not dying, but he's got a tough situation. He's battling and I got nothing but respect for you for flying all the way out there to Virginia, and doing what you can for another human being. That's amazing.
Hey, it ain't about me, brother. It was all about him and his family. So I'm not looking for anything. I want them to get the best care, the best help. I want them to realize the spirit is there for, from Jet Nation. And, we're all with them because, listen, we're all Jet fans and we love one another, man. And we've all been through hurdles in this life. And who's been down more than a Jet fan? I mean, who's been down? That's what I said to John today. I says, John, we're used to this, man. This is just a battle, man. And it's just another obstacle. And we're gonna fight this together and we're gonna get through it. And we'll come out on the other side, man. And it's gonna be great because sometimes you gotta go through the battles to win the war, man. And it's one step at a time. And it starts today. Starts today for me with John and his family. So,
Jake, there's no way I'm letting you get out of here today without giving me some of your inside thoughts on everything that went down with Klecko and Revis, man. As somebody who has never in my life or could ever even imagine stirring up stuff in Jets land, I need to know what's it like to find yourself at the center of a firestorm in Jets Nation.
Well, I don't like that you're using the term "stir it up" as if my intention was to get our two greatest defensive players going into the hall together to have beef. I'm even wearing my Sack Exchange sweatshirt right now. I love Joe Cleco. My dad watched him. Obviously, I knew about Joe Cleco growing up, and he should have been in the Hall of Fame decades ago. So I'm glad they finally got it right and he's going in. But honestly, the whole thing, Jay, has just been kind of surreal because Revis is one of my favorite players for me as a Jet fan. He's certainly, when we were talking earlier about the best players we watched, Revis is in my top 4. He is arguably in his prime the most dominant defensive cover corner to ever play. So to have him on the show, that in of itself was wild. But the fact that he came on because he responded to my initial tweets promoting the interview with Klecko, where Klecko's praising him, saying how cool it is to go in with Darrelle Revis, and the fact that it became such a huge deal. It was pretty wild, a little bittersweet, just because I think lost in the interview with Klecko was how great of a guy he was. He gave me an hour of his time. He took questions from the fans. So it was an awesome experience to have him on. And then have Revis on was great too, but obviously it was kind of started because of him wanting to clarify the backstory there. So it was pretty wild. It was a wild 48 hours, but I'm glad we had both on, and I think the fans enjoyed it. So that's ultimately what it's all about.
Yeah, for sure. I just find it interesting, the timing of it. It makes me wonder, from Revis's side, was he trying to get some extra eyes on him for his own show that he has coming up?
Show. He had to vote that show.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it seemed like a weird – I didn't get it either. I just didn't understand where it came from because it was I like anything taken out of context can be like skewed in some way, but like it didn't even seem like out of context that anything that Cleco had said was in any way a slight to him or in any way offensive. If not the other way, like you said, he was praising him. So I'm just trying to figure out like where the
and then he doubles down on Mangold too, like the following day. I'm like, what the hell?
Well, he seemed to be just messing around with Mangold, but maybe now's not the time, like I don't know.
He trolls, man. Like he ended my interview by basically when I was like, on behalf of all Jet fans, like congratulations, we can't wait to celebrate you at Kent. And he's like, well, they love me in New England too, and he knows I despise the Patriots, every fiber in my body, so he's just busting my balls at the end there. But I'm like, you don't want to say that, Darrelle, when you got thousands of Jet fans that are tuning in to hear you. But the thing was just weird because the thing he responded to was Klecko praising him. And then he took the shot basically being like, I'm the greatest Jets defensive player of all time. And it's like, well, I asked him in the interview, I'm like, can you understand how we as Jet fans like are confused by your reaction to what Klecko said? Because he's praising you. And then he's like, well, there's more to the story you don't know. And then he came on the show and he tried to explain it. But the whole thing was just bizarre, but it ended up him coming on the show for an hour. And I think, the questions he was willing to answer, we got some good insight. So that was fun as someone who obviously grew up, during that time watching prime Darrelle Revis. It was fun to have him on before he gets inducted next month.
Yeah, for sure. I listen, end of the day, like I just, do you think Patriot fans actually love Darrelle Revis? I bet they don't. What do they want? Do you think they even care about Darrelle Revis at this point? Like he played 1 year. No, he played 1 year for them in the height of Tom Brady's, prime pretty much, and won a Super Bowl because he was on the right team. Like he wasn't. We talked about this last week. He wasn't Revis Island at that point. I mean, and when he came back to the Jets, wasn't what he was. And that injury kind of, you could tell it just kind of sapped him.
How do you think Warrior?
I'm gonna go crazy. I'm gonna go crazy.
He hopped on for a ride.
Now I'm gonna go crazy. Now you got me going crazy. It's just another Satan was involved. Belichick was involved. He knew he was our best corner at the time, our best player. He went out of his way to give us a little, like, I got your best player and we're going to win a world championship. That is chowderhead, clam face, why he's up in New England, Bill Cheater Belichick. All right?
But you got to blame the Jets too, though, Ed, because John Izek shouldn't have traded him to Tampa in the first place. He never should have left the Jets. And then once he got hurt in 2012, they then trade him. Tampa cuts him after a year, and the reports were at the time that he preferred to go back to the Jets, but then Belichick and the Patriots gave him the most money. The Jets didn't want him until McCagnon got there and blew him away with a ridiculous contract in 2015. So I can't kill him for leaving because the Jets traded him. They never should have got rid of him in the first place. It was a huge mistake.
Yeah.
And drafted D. Milner with his replacement. How'd that work out? Please.
An injured quarterback. That turned out to have injury issues. What a shock.
They also got Sheldon, too. It was good for 1 year, and that was it.
Yeah.
Brutal. Anyway, sorry. Didn't mean to go down a tangent of bad Revis juju ahead of the induction ceremony. I'm going to be cheering him. Look, end of the day, we had more good moments than bad with Darrelle Revis, for sure. He was something, like I said last week, something that like we've never had around here on that levels of dominance. Idzik was a disaster. He was. Speaking of John Idzik, Jake and I were discussing this before. I was actually on Jake's show when it was a fledgling young show back in 2015, the Asman and Budick show, right? And when with all that John Idzik craziness, but thank God he's gone. I mean, when we look at like where we're at now compared to where we were with Idzik and McCagnon and Bowles and I mean, you could just run off the list of just ridiculous general manager and head coaching decisions we made around here. To see where this roster's at this point is super exciting, which is why when people bring up what a disaster John Idzik is, I like to just pretend like that period of time didn't exist. We suffered through it, we got through it, and here we are, and we're ready to thrive.
I was just going to say, my last question for you, Jake, just speaking of bad drafts, going back to 2020, do you think any of these guys that are still on the roster right now, between Becton, Mims, Ashton Davis, and Breece Hall, does anybody make an impact this year, or is that draft pretty much a wash at this point?
Well, I mean, Becton still has a chance to rewrite the story of his career. Like, obviously, you look at his career going into, his fifth season now in the league or whatnot. You say, his fourth season, they didn't pick up the fifth-year option. You say, well, he's been a bust, but yes, that's true because he hasn't played, but when he has played, he's shown the ability to be a very good player. Like he was awesome as a rookie when he was out there on the field. So I'm not completely, rewriting or dismissing Mekhi Becton. He seems like he's in a good space mentally, which is important. He's in great shape. He's going to get every opportunity to start on an offensive line on a team with Aaron Rodgers at quarterback. So whether he's the left tackle or right tackle, he's playing in prime time. He's playing with Rodgers. If he plays well, people are going to know he's going to get paid. He's certainly motivated by money. Every athlete is. So, like, I don't rule out, Mekhi Becton being a good player because we've seen him be a good player. Whereas, like, Denzel Mims he's done nothing. Ashton Davis is a special teams guy. Braden Mann is gone. James Morgan is gone. Like, that entire 2020 draft class is not good. Becton could still kind of change the narrative. And honestly, Bryce Huff, undrafted free agent in 2020. He's probably the best player from that class if you factor that in. So they got him and maybe Becton to kind of right the wrong from Douglas's first draft class, which I'll put on Adam Gase more than anyone because that's just easy to do at this point.
That's a fair point. I respect it.
Anything else from you guys?
No, I think it's a light week.
Wrap for this week.
Yeah, I think we got 46 minutes out of a week in which literally nothing happened. So I'm fired up about that. I would very much.
We got one more question for Rob before we go. Do you see anything crazy happening with the wide receiver room?
Nah, even just bringing up Mims. I think it's going to be hard for Mims to actually even make this team this year. I don't see anything crazy happening unless injuries start to happen during camp. But the guys that are here, we spoke about this a couple of weeks ago. The one guy that's flying under the radar that I love the signing was Mecole Hardman. And I'm pretty sure he's going to be on the field a lot in ways where they can just get him the ball, because once you get the ball in his hands, the guy's magic. He's got the wheels to make to blow the roof off. The defense, or you get him on a quick screen and he can make something happen. So the receiver room is going to be pretty good, and I don't foresee any crazy things happening, any crazy signings happening again, unless guys start dropping like flies and injuries start to happen. But not much going to happen in that room from the way that it is set up right now.
That Hall of Fame game, Ed, you're going to be out there. Anybody that's going to be out, I'm still trying to figure out a way to get out to that. But I'm going to, it's already a lot of traveling, going to the opener, up north, and then I'm going to the Dallas game week 2. So I think I'm going to probably skip the Hall of Fame game, unfortunately.
I got to save all my money for your bachelor party.
Yeah, bachelor party. Guys, listen, everybody's in the chat asking about what away games Ed's going to and everything. Just come to Dallas. Dallas, and then I don't know how many of you guys are going to Vegas. I won't be in the country, unfortunately, but Vegas is the trip, obviously, this year. If somebody, that would be the one trip I would, if I was going to be around, the one trip I really wanted to do was Vegas. I'm sad I won't be there, but there will be a lot of fans and out in Vegas. It's going to be
one.
I got a deal for every Jet fan going to Vegas. That's if you want to stay at Circa Resort and Casino, which is a sports fan's paradise. I got a promo code. You'll get 50% off on your rooms, and I'm throwing a party for all Jet fans that are going Saturday night at Circa, open bar for 2 hours. So we are going to have a blast that weekend and then watch probably Rodgers and the Jets beat up on Brian Hoyer at that point in the Raiders. I can't wait.
They're just rubbing it in my face. I'm going to be on my honeymoon.
I'm gonna save up for the Vegas trip in February. You guys have fun.
That too.
Twice a year. I'll be at the Super Bowl. If the Jets make it to the Super Bowl this year, I will be there. I can promise you that. I'll be on Ed's shoulders.
I will take out a loan, and I will.
I'll be it.
Yeah, we will definitely be there in Vegas. But Dallas is going to be lit. Anybody, listen, we'll definitely be putting. Yeah, there's my boy Frank. He runs an amazing Dallas Jets fan club, and last time we were in Dallas, Ed knows we took over that bar the night before. We were rocking. I'll put some videos up, in advance of that so people can see what we had going on last time we were in Dallas. It was nutty. And we were even there when Sam Darnold was drafted. That Dallas Jets fan club is something serious. So it's going to be a good time. And plus, shout out to Gotham City crew. I know, Jake is traveling with them, and, they're putting together a really fun package. We're going to try and figure out, we're going to link everybody up to take my whole bachelor party over there and everybody tailgate together, just get a massive Jets tailgate. So pumped about that.
Well, I'm trying to make it. I'll try to make every game. I won't be the Denver game, but I'm going to try to make every other one. So we'll see how it works out. But that's the plan. I'm gonna enjoy the journey.
Love it. Love it.
Jake, you got to get on the bus. Fireman Ed's taking a. He's gonna get a victory bus if the Jets win the Super Bowl. He's just gonna take it for a week and just stop at every bar just so he can get in there.
That's been happening for 40 years. Hopefully, it happens.
I'm ready. Yeah, we got to do some Irish Miss before another home game this year. I can't wait.
Jake, you know we're doing it, brother. You know that.
Can't wait. My dad brings it up to me all the time. I saw he's in the audience here somewhere watching. So yep. I can't wait, man. It's going to be incredible.
Let's get ready for the journey. The journey's going to be special. Remember, we're going to stay in their heads. All of the NFL, we're going to stay in their heads. We're real. We're real. Rain. The Jets are raining down on you. Yes. It's real.
Ed the Zen Master.
It's in the zone tonight. Jake, man, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. Chat, thank you guys as well. Talk to you guys again next week.
Go, Jake.